security threat because it's going to disrupt all these places where there could be droughts or food shortages, and you can guess who's going to be there to create the solution. Here you've got William Cohen saying others are engaging in a type of eco-terrorism where they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. It's real. That's the reason we have to intensify our efforts. He said that in 1997 when he was Secretary of Defense.
That was Army times, yeah.
And the point is, all these military researchers, all these national security people are able to manipulate the weather. They're spraying God knows what up there. We know what some of it is. A lot of it's aluminum and sulfur dioxide and the rest of it. But they've created this rationale that it's going to solve global warming. Now let's go.
That's just their cover. They always denied it until 3 years ago. Now they go, we were doing it, but it's secret. It's to save the earth. We're peaceniks. We're Peace Prize winners.
Statement was that it's criminal, and whoever's doing this should be charged with a criminal act. That this could kill thousands, if not millions, of people eventually. I mean, if you're inducing Alzheimer's disease on a worldwide scale, and you're inducing a number of diseases just from breathing it. I mean, within the lungs, you produce asthma, you produce chronic lung disease. People who have pre-existing chronic lung disease will precipitously get worse because aluminum, as it enters the epithelium of the lungs, is going to produce intense inflammatory reactions, and that's going to produce worsening of their pulmonary conditions. Also, the aluminum is absorbed into the bloodstream, can be deposited in the heart. People with heart failure would get worse. People with hypertension would get worse. Numerous diseases could be precipitated and worsened by such an insane policy. But it is criminal. It's a criminal act.
Yeah, no doubt.
No one was asked permission to do this. This was not announced publicly. This was not entered into a public forum, so these health issues could be discussed. They just secretly have done it on a worldwide scale of an enormous proportion.
Who is doing all this? From my research, I concluded that it is people like the US military, the Pentagon, international governments, rogue nations, and global corporations. And there's one name that I want to give you to research for yourself, and that is DynCorp. DynCorp is a semi-military organization, has also ties with commercial airlines, and they have patents on vaccines. So interesting. Well, who? Well, this darling, Mr. Brzezinski, Obama's teacher, he said in 1970, technology will make available to the leaders of major nations techniques for conducting secret warfare, of which only a bare minimum of the security forces need to be appraised. In fact, I think they have only to warn one official. That's it. And that official can keep his mouth shut so nobody knows. We don't know. We don't hear about it. And techniques of weather modifications could be employed to produce prolonged periods of drought or storm. Yes. This is the document that was mentioned earlier also, and the interesting thing is it was written in 1996, and it was created because in that period there was for the first time computer power to compute huge plans that you want to make. So with these same Cray computers with Oracle 8i software, they reverse engineered the 1918 flu virus, which is very similar to the H1N1. And also they had this document with 6 different scenarios, plans. What do we do here in 1996 to have this or that outcome in 2025? And in one of the 6 scenarios...
The Air Force conducted a study starting in 1993. It was called In Vitro Toxicity of Aluminum Nanoparticles in Rat Alveolar Macrophages. That's a real fancy way of saying testing the effect of aluminum nanoparticles on the white blood cells in the little air sacs in your lung, the alveoli. And what they found in this 8-year study was that these particles, when you're exposed to them long enough, it suppresses the ability of your white blood cells to defend you from airborne infections coming into your lungs. So it suppresses your immune system. But they also found that these same particles, once they get into your system, they can actually go through the barrier in each one of the cells. They get inside the cells, and these particles can actually suppress the ability of mitochondria, which are in the cells that help to gobble up toxins and things that would be harmful to the nucleus and the reproduction process of the cells in your body. These processes are suppressed, and so essentially by breathing this material in, your immune system is dramatically suppressed.
I wrote to the federal government because Air Force wrote a book, and on the first page of the book they said, we're going to control the weather by the year 2025. I asked them, what are they doing, spraying these chemicals on the public? I said, there's violation of United States Code 50 USC 1520, which prohibits the American government from experimenting on the U.S. citizens with chemical agents. I said that law also requires who's ever experimenting, when the federal government does it, that they have to report to Congress within 30 days. They wrote back, they said they don't know what I'm talking about. We have enough evidence that there's this spraying going all over the place.
We were warned about the takeover of our freedoms by the military-industrial complex by both Eisenhower and Kennedy. They're gaining traction on us, folks. We are in trouble more than just a spraying program.
All I can say is it's about time we get up in arms about this, because it is affecting our health. It's high time that we as citizens of this great country take action.
These tests are international in scope. We're seeing this all over the world, guys. Okay, pH of acid soils is 20 times more alkaline. The aluminum in the soil has doubled in the last 10 years. The rain normal was 5.6. It's 20 times more alkaline. Aluminum blocks essential nutrients. I am unable in my garden to restore normal pH, and that's because nanoparticles are now in the circulatory systems of both plants and humans.
When I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal. They're not natural. There's something going on. I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. All I can testify is it's not natural and it's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that. Thank you.
I'm here to give you testimony that chemtrails, they're not contrails, are indeed real. They're spraying almost every day. I watch the clouds and watch the spraying program going on. I want to tell you that we're in very great danger from the pollution that's coming down over us. And we've been led astray by the military-industrial complex, and they're responsible for the cloud's creation and weather manipulation programs. They're dark operations. That's why they're not out in the media.
I look around and I see people are starting to look up and see this. Many times I've spoken about chemtrails, and I get this blank look on my face. What are you talking about? I'm saying, look up. As a pilot, before I fly, I look up. And so, boy, they're really out there working.
When you look up at the sun and you see a white haze, that is aluminum floating in the air right now, and it's coming from the aircraft.
There's a huge amount of aluminum being found because